The sun was melting gold over the quiet suburbs, painting the sky in strokes of pink and orange, when Michael knelt beside his daughter's little pink bicycle for the 100th time. His hands were steady on the handlebars, his smile wide, though inside his heart trembled with that familiar mixture of pride and fear. Emily, just 6 years old, sat perched on the seat, her braids bouncing with excitement, her little voice echoing through the yard. "Daddy, don't let go," she said, her eyes bright with both fear and faith. Michael smiled, the corners of his eyes creasing with warmth. "I won't, sweetheart. Not yet." He steadied the bike, jogging alongside as she pedaled harder, faster, her laughter rippling like music across the evening air. It was one of those small, ordinary moments that didn't feel special until much later, until life taught him how fragile and priceless such days truly were. Before we dive deeper into this emotional journey, if you believe in kindness, love, and second chances, take a second to like, comment, share, and subscribe. Let's spread more stories that remind us of what truly matters in this world. Michael was 33 then, a single father trying to rebuild life piece by piece. Emily was all he had left of a love story that ended too soon. His wife, Sarah, had passed away 3 years earlier after a long and cruel battle with cancer. Her laughter used to fill this same yard, her hands used to braid Emily's hair, and her gentle voice was what soothed their daughter's fears at night. Now it was just Michael, stumbling, learning, loving, and trying to fill both roles at once. Every night after Emily fell asleep, he'd sit by her door for a while, just listening to her soft breathing, the sound reminding him that despite everything, life still had a reason to keep going. He had once been a construction foreman, proud of the home he was building for his family. But after Sarah's passing, work felt empty. The hammer hits, the sawdust, the blueprints, they all reminded him of the plans he made that never came true. He took odd jobs for a while, then found a stable one at a local hardware store. It wasn't glamorous, but it was close to home, and that mattered more than money. His real paycheck was Emily's laughter, the little sticky notes she'd leave on his lunch bag saying, "You're the best, Daddy," in crooked handwriting. Those were his treasures. Every Saturday was their day. Pancakes in the morning, cartoons till noon, and then something outdoors. Bike rides, walks by the lake, or trips to the park. Emily was learning to ride without training wheels now, and Michael had promised her she'd do it before her 7th birthday. That was their little goal. She was a careful child, cautious like her mother, always asking, "Daddy, what if I fall?" And he always replied, "Then I'll catch you." That simple promise became their bond, their unspoken faith that no matter what life threw their way, they'd face it together. But time, as always, moves faster than the heart can handle. Emily grew and Michael aged, not in years but in worry. He watched her become braver, smarter, and more independent. The day she finally pedaled off on her own without his hand guiding her, something inside him cracked softly. He cheered, clapped, even took pictures. But later that night, as he tucked her in, he whispered, "You did it, sweetheart." And when she smiled sleepily and said, "You didn't let go, Daddy," he turned away so she wouldn't see the tears in his eyes. Because deep down, he knew, someday he'd have to. Years passed like pages in a well-worn book. Michael worked hard, saving up for Emily's future, never missing a school recital, never skipping a bedtime story. Life wasn't perfect, but it was peaceful. He became known in the neighborhood as the dad who always showed up. Rain or shine, he was there. Front row at every event, with that same proud smile. Emily grew into a bright, kind-hearted young woman. She loved painting like her mother once did and dreamed of studying art in New York. When she got accepted into her dream college, Michael felt both joy and heartbreak twist inside him. The little girl who once needed his steady hand on the handlebars was ready to pedal into the world on her own. The night before she left for college, the two of them sat in the backyard, the same one where she learned to ride. The stars hung low and the crickets sang softly around them. Emily leaned her head on his shoulder and said, "Daddy, do you think Mom would be proud of me?" Michael swallowed the lump in his throat and whispered, "Sweetheart, she'd be more than proud. She'd be amazed." They sat there for a long time, no words, just memories. When he hugged her goodnight, he held her a little longer, breathing in the faint scent of her shampoo, the same one Sarah used to use. It was his way of saying goodbye, without saying the word. The morning she left, he helped load her suitcases into the car. Emily hugged him tightly, her eyes glistening. "I'll call you every day," she said. "Promise?" he smiled. "Promise." As the car drove away, he stood in the driveway, waving until it disappeared around the corner. The house was quiet again. Too quiet. He walked into her room. It was spotless now, her drawings still pinned to the corkboard, her stuffed bunny sitting on the shelf. On her desk lay a small note. "Daddy, don't let go of your dreams, of your smile, of me." That was the day he realized that letting go didn't mean losing. It meant trusting that what you taught them will carry them through, even when you're not there to hold on. For years, Michael kept himself busy, gardening, volunteering, fixing neighbors' fences, always helping someone. Emily called often, sometimes crying about homesickness, sometimes laughing about her adventures. He loved every call, even the short ones. And every time she said, "I love you, Dad," he'd reply with the same line, "Always, sweetheart, always." Then came the day no parent is ever ready for. It was a bright spring afternoon when the call came. A shaky voice on the other end, an officer speaking carefully. There had been a car accident on the interstate. Emily had been driving back home for a surprise visit. Michael didn't remember dropping the phone, didn't remember the drive to the hospital. All he remembered was the sterile hallway smell, the doctor's eyes when they met his. In that moment, the world went silent. His knees gave out. His heart shattered into something that would never be whole again. The funeral was a blur. Faces, flowers, whispers of sympathy, all faded into white noise. What he remembered was the pink bicycle they'd kept in the garage all these years, now covered in dust. He brought it out one evening just to hold it, to remember. He ran his fingers over the worn handles, the little basket that once carried her stuffed bunny. And suddenly he could hear her laughter again, faint but real, echoing in the wind. "Daddy, don't let go." His tears fell freely then, not just for her loss, but for every moment he'd taken for granted, every bedtime story he'd rushed, every time he'd thought there'd be more time. Weeks turned into months. The grief didn't leave. It simply changed shape. Michael started volunteering at the local children's hospital, fixing toys, building tiny shelves, and talking to kids who were scared, alone, or sick. He found a strange kind of healing there, in their laughter, their courage. One little girl reminded him so much of Emily, a bright smile, blonde braids, and the same fearless spark. Her name was Lily. One day, she told him she was scared to ride her bike without the training wheels. He smiled softly and said, "You know, my daughter once said the same thing." So he held the back of her bike, just like he did all those years ago, running alongside as she pedaled. "Don't let go, Mr. Michael," she squealed. He smiled, eyes glistening. "I won't," he whispered. But this time, when he finally did, he watched her ride away, free, laughing, alive. And for the first time in years, his heart felt light again. That night, he sat on the porch under the same stars and spoke quietly to the sky. "You were right, sweetheart. Letting go isn't the same as saying goodbye." He looked up, and for a moment, he swore he saw a single shooting star streak across the heavens, a sign, maybe, that she was listening. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, share, and subscribe. These stories are made to remind us all that love never truly leaves, it just changes form. Every view, every comment helps keep these messages of hope and love alive. Before we end, I have one simple request. Comment below. I'll never take time with loved ones for granted, because life is fragile, and sometimes the smallest moments, the pink bicycles, the bedtime hugs, the whispered goodnights, become the memories that save us later. Michael never remarried. He didn't need to. His love story wasn't unfinished. It just lived differently now. He still kept Emily's room the same, her drawings framed on the wall, her note in his wallet. Every morning he'd whisper, "Good morning, sweetheart," and every night, "Sleep well, my girl." People often said he was strong, But he never saw it that way. He was just a father who refused to stop loving his daughter even after life took her away. And maybe that's what real strength is, not moving on, but moving forward while carrying love that never fades. Years later, when Michael passed peacefully in his sleep, the neighbors said they saw a smile on his face. In his hand, they found that same note Emily had written years ago. "Daddy, don't let go." And maybe finally he didn't have to. Because somewhere beyond the stars, a little girl was waiting, her laughter echoing again through endless skies. And when she saw him, she ran toward him with open arms. And this time, when she said, "Daddy, don't let go," he smiled through tears and whispered, "Never again, sweet."